Good afternoon, everyone. We're pleased you're all joining us for Miami Jewish Film Festival's virtual speaker series live discussion with legendary actor Udo Kier and Václav Marhoul, the director of the Academy Award nominated film The Painted Bird, which also won this year our festival's coveted Critics' Prize. To briefly introduce myself, I'm Igor Sternberg, the executive director of the Miami Jewish Film Festival, and I'll be hosting this afternoon's conversation with Udo and Vaslav. To introduce our guests, Udo Kier is the ultimate cult film actor of his generation. He's played Dracula, Frankenstein, Jack the Ripper, and Adolf Hitler 3 times. Yes, a lot of villains. He's also worked with Andy Warhol, Dario Argento, Rainer Werner Fassbinder, Werner Herzog, Wim Wenders, and has appeared in every Lars von Trier film since 1987's Epidemic. He has won awards at international festivals for his artistic achievements and can boast of roles in over 100 films in various genres. It is our absolute honor to have you join us today. Udo.
Hello, thank you. So many compliments. Thank you so much.
Well deserved.
Yes, but you see, I started very early. I started with Fassbinder in Germany, and I like movies, and I'm always looking for something very interesting as a role in a movie. And when Vaslav met me and talked to me, and I read the script, and I read, of course, the book, and I really thought, my God, I have to be evil. Such an evil man, so jealous of his wife. But I made the movie, I said yes, and I had a great, great time. And just a few words to the film. For me, how Vaslav directed that young boy, Peter Kotlar, who was not an actor, but it was amazing how this boy was directed, because just how difficult that is to go to a movie just to observe and just watch what's going on around it. No, I don't like it, I'm leaving. And then it gets worse and worse. And for me, the camera, Mr. Smutny, of course, is unbelievable. The black and white and the trees and the water, everything, it's so amazing. And for me, this film has to be on a big screen, because it takes you away. The whole story, if you haven't seen the film, the whole story is amazing. And I like the way how he directed it, because it wasn't a concentration camp, the door open, a boy goes out, the parents crying behind the window. No, it was just the boy goes and observes to live. The boy wants to live, so he has to work for people here just for sleeping and eating. For me, the film is, and I made nice films with nice directors, but this film for me is a masterpiece. And I hope a lot of people, when finally this virus disappears, I hope a lot of people will see that movie. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Udo. I have many more questions, but I first want to introduce Vaslav. Vaslav was born in Prague and graduated from the Film and Television School of the Academy of Performing Arts. He has worked as a screenwriter, actor, and producer, in addition to directing the feature films Smart Philip and Tobruk, which received 8 Czech Line Award nominations. The Painted Bird is Vaslav's 3rd feature film and was the recipient of the UNICEF Award at the Venice Film Festival. We're so glad to have you with us today, Vaslav.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Igor. And I really would like, mostly I would like to thank for your invitation and just only to talk to everybody. So hello, everyone who is now watching us and listening to us. And thank you very much. Thank you very much for your introduction. Much appreciated.
Before we dive in, I want to briefly go over some housekeeping. Given the number of people attending this conversation, we're asking anyone who has a question to please type it in the chat. We'll do our very best to ask Udo and Vaslav all your questions during the course of our discussion. So now let's begin and have some fun. My first question is directed to you, Vaslav. All 3 of your feature films to date have been adaptations from novels or plays. What was your entry point into The Painted Bird, and how were you able to infuse a personal touch into a pre-existing work of such fame and renown?
Mm. Well, that's a good question, because that's correct. So all my features, let's say, being inspired by the literature or by the novels, better say. You did mention the Smart Philip, and it's just only based on the Raymond Chandler's book about the private eye detective Phil Marlowe. And the Tobruk, anyway, is inspired, not the adaptation, but inspired by very good, wonderful book or novel from the author Stephen Crane, American author, and it's a red badge of courage. So this novel, I suppose it's 1896 or something like that. Maybe I am wrong, but wonderful, wonderful, wonderful story about the young guy who is going to war, and he's thinking that he must be a hero, of course, that the war is the hell, but the hell is great. But the Painted Bird, of course, it was slightly different, because not slightly different, because that's the adaptation. That's the real adaptation. And this book been recommended to me by one of my friends. He is an artist. He's a painter. Just only one day he brought me this book, and he said, Václav, you must read it. It's amazing. You simply must read it. And believe it or not, after 3 or 4 pages, I did realize that this is something wonderful. That's great, because the filmmaking or our professions, it's about the emotions, mostly about the emotions, and then about some, which is so important for any film director. It's an imagination. So every sentence on the book just only brought me the imagination. I saw the pictures, so I felt the emotions, and just only really it did happen to me in first few pages. And even I didn't know what the story is about. In fact, I just felt that it's wonderful. There's the first point what I would like to mention. The second is that for many people, so this book is so full of violence and brutality, but for me, it's just only a form. It's not the content. And I always said, when the people asked me, Václav, why you did it? And I said, look, for me, this story is about 3 most important things in our lives. That's hope, love, let's say, and how to say it in the English language. Sorry, I will just only remember that word. And if I'm saying it's about love and hope, so the people are saying, Václav, you must be crazy. You must be definitely crazy. It's not about the hope, about the love. And I said, yes, it is. Because the question is, when we will realize how, for instance, the love and the hope is so important for us, when we are missing those things. So if you would like to point it, you would like to, let's say, you would like to say, this is really so important. So you are so looking for that because you are missing that. So, I mean, the story for me was based on the opposites. For instance, now we are facing the COVID. Okay, not okay, sorry. But we are just only facing the COVID. But now we can realize how important it is to stay healthy. Till that time, so we didn't realize it. So we just only took it every day. Okay, that's fine. It's normal. We are happy, we are healthy. That's fine. When we are really recognize that it's so important to live in peace if we are in war. When we will realize how love is so important for us, when we will miss somebody from just around the people they loved us, parents or maybe your girlfriend, doesn't matter. And in that moment, so I just only, that was one of the levels on the book, and that's maybe why, as a first person all over the world, I took the rights when I talked to a Jewish institution in Chicago, the Spertus, because I know that so many people, they were interested before to get the rights and to adapt the Jerzy Kosinski, The Painted Bird, as a film. So maybe I didn't ask them, never, why you did believe me, but maybe I think this is the explanation, because I just only brought another another point of view, another angle. So maybe that's why I succeeded, and after 2 years negotiations, I bought the rights. Even I didn't know that this project will take 11 years. That's all for the start.
Wow. And Udo, had you been familiar with Jerzy Kaczynski's book before you decided to be a part of this project?
No, but I bought it, of course, right away. And well, because I just had the script, which I liked. So it was very, very deeply in the same direction than the book. And I liked it, of course. And what Vaslav said, it's like it is not kind of a spectacle. It's about surviving, about a young boy to live. He wants to live. He is too young to understand what's all going around him in the country. But that's yeah. I liked the script very much, and of course that was my guiding line, the script, and I had a good time.
Udo, you've worked with a lot of notable directors like Gus Van Sant and Lars von Trier and Dario Argento, who all have a unique way of working and visual style. Can you tell us about Vaslav's directing style in this film? What was it like being directed by him on the set?
Well, you see, you saw the film. He wasn't directing; it was just being there. And if I, being drama and sitting on a table, now my whole body start crippling now. Sitting on the table, having my little whatever it is, schnapps. Not, I did not look where the camera was. I was in my thought, and I saw them, the helper flirting with my wife and all this, but still I don't want to do anything. And I have my little schnapps till I explode. he's a he's a very good director. The good thing is we had a good script. That is number one. So there wasn't, and I know I don't like to ask directors many questions because I know they don't like that. They're coming to the set in the morning and the actor comes and says, I had an idea last night. Could I go that door instead of that door? And the director says, what? Yeah. But no, the script and the meeting and is the important thing because I like to have also, even if I played very evil, I want to have a good time. And I like to work with him. I mean, I did. I hope I work again. I did work with him and I had a great time. And, I didn't say, oh, I said to him, can I spend time on my set alone? I want to lie in the bed. I want to smell the sheets. I want to know what is in every drawer. And he said, of course. So I was there lying around. That's what I need. I don't need a big acting. Actually, you look there and you think that. And no, he's I mean, he's listening now. So, but he is a very, very good director. And the best example that he is a good director is the little boy, because he did an amazing work. Just also in my scene, just sitting on the floor and just observing and seeing the little cats, what they do, doesn't get it, but he doesn't like it. So it's like, I look also what you said, I worked, of course, we know Wim Wenders, Herzog, and of course, my friend Lars von Trier, but I always look for interesting subjects. Like, I made a film which will go to your festival from Israel called My Neighbor Adolf, with Leonid Podolsky directing it and Chaim Mecklenburg from Israel producing it. But I liked it. I liked it. It's not always okay. Everybody actor wants to work with David Lynch. You want to work with Kubrick. You want to work with Alejandro Jodorowsky. But I'm happy. I'm a lucky man. I always find new directors, like in this case, and do a good film, and we are still friends. It's not that I finished the movie. Don't want to see him again. That was horrible. So there you have it. It's a great, great film experience for me, and I'm in the beginning tomorrow to start another one. I hope it's another experience. So, and I like parts to finish that. I like parts which I don't. Lars von Trier's favorite line is "Don't act," and then people say, "I don't do anything." You say, "What is that then? What you're doing right now?" And that's. I don't make movies where I act. I be there, and I know my lines.
Udo, did you feel you needed to do any particular special preparation for your role in The Painted Bird? Did you do any research on the Holocaust, the atrocities that were taking place in Eastern Europe?
Well, I am German, and when I was old enough to understand what was happening in Germany, I left Germany. I was with 19 in England, learned English in England, then went to Rome, to France. I did never, no, it was the most horrible thing. It's so horrible that you cannot even talk about it. That is, you know, it's, I cannot talk about it. It is so strong and unbelievable what did happen. And anyway, let's ask me another question, please.
Let me ask a question to Vaslav.
Yeah.
Vaslav, how did you manage to get probably the most evil performance ever out of Udo Kier?
Can you repeat it, please, just only
Sure.
to understand correctly what you mean?
How did you get that evil performance out of Udo Kier? What was the direction that you were giving him?
Well, look, it's not just only about the Udo. It's of course about all other stars which I did cast on my movie, like the Stellan Skarsgård or Harvey Keitel. Look, the Painted Bird is simply a word bestseller. And me as a director, in one moment, I do remember that moment very well. I just only did realize that I can cast everybody, that I can call everybody around the world. It doesn't matter where is it or how famous is it. I just only cast Udo and all other because I simply did believe that they are going to be best. Some people are saying to me sometimes, Václav, of course you did cast Udo and Harvey and Julian Sands because they are famous and that then in the market, so your film is going to be much more attractive, etc., etc. I said, no, look, believe it or not, it wasn't my goal. I didn't want to aim this goal, I just simply was thinking about the actors who are simply the best for that character. And when I was thinking about the Miller, which was played by Udo, it was so simple. And I said, look at him, he's simply best. And Udo said one very important uh, thought. He said, what about the Lars von Trier? Don't act. And that's the point. So mostly if you are really going to make a truthful movie, which is the most important ambition for me in The Painted Bird, that the story must be truthful. We are directing, or we are making the feature films, but we also call them fiction. And always, of course, it has to be a fiction, of course. Never we can make the true, but the true should be truthful. And then the people are feeling the same emotions like you. They do believe that it could happen or it did happen. So, for instance, when Udo did mention how about my direction, let's say, and thank you very much. I like actors. I like them, really. Some directors are hating the actors. I really love them very much because for me it's such a hard job, such a hard job. Nobody could imagine how hard job it is. But for instance, when we met with Udo the first time, simply we sat together and we talk and talk and talk. what the scene is about, So what is the Miller, why he is doing so? What is his life, What is his feeling, What he's feeling every morning when he's waking up, And then you as a director, if those actors are on your way, in fact, so you are just only one body on the scene. You are just only simply feeling together, and it's not necessary to correct him and say, "No, look, don't do that." It happened in Painted Bird. It happened only 2 times that I said to any actor, "Don't do that. Please don't do that. I don't like it." Just only 2 times. But in fact, it was just only as a river, just only floating away, So that was so nice. And just only one joke. We did have it, Udo, only one problem. Only one. And when we met the first time, the Udo said, "Look, on the screenplay, I am missing one so important scene." And I said, "Really? Which one?" And he said, "When the Miller is sitting on the bench and he is staring on the fly which is smashed on the wall." And I said, "Well, and is it in the book?" And he said, "Of course it is in the book. It's so important detail because the good and the evil is hidden on the detail." And I said, "Oh." So I check it on the book and he was right. And it is, and finally Udo pushed me to rewrite or just only to add this scene to the screenplay. And Udo was right, this is so important for me. It's a so important detail, so important scene, which is saying something more about the Miller, let's say.
Yeah.
So like that thing.
Udo, you said earlier, you talked about the young actor Petter. So much of the movie rests on him and his immersive performance in the film. Can you talk about what was it like working with such a young actor, a non-professional? What was your
Well,
experience working with
well,
him?
first, before when we were talking about the non-acting, I want to tell you something. The non-acting I don't do for everybody. I have to like the director, I have to feel the talent, and then I don't act. If somebody who is dramatic says to me, "Don't act," I say, "What? What?" So that is, and a young boy, I started also very early, but not with 12 years old. But this boy is special, and it is the director, he's called Medal, to find that boy somewhere and train him not to act, just to be there and not doing some crazy things because everything around him is crazy. The painted bird, and he is digged in the earth. And I mean, everybody, people abusing him sexually, and everything that boy goes through. So that is the gold medal for the director, to find an actor. You don't find many actors or boys like that, because in America especially, actors are the parents that didn't make their career as actors, so they train their kids. And then the kids have to do that, otherwise they don't get a new bicycle if they don't get the audition. That's horrible. That is horrible. I think that Peter, I saw him the last time in Venice at the film festival, and he's a wonderful, and he is observing. He the world is so crazy, and there is that boy in, I mean, from Czech Republic standing on the stage and everywhere at the red carpet in Venice. In Venice, I mean, it's amazing. No, the boy is. I hope I see him again. Just, because also you see, one last thing for acting, similar. I have never been to acting school, and I became a professor. I'm a theory of acting, and that boy hasn't been to acting school. But one thing is important: talent you cannot learn. You have it or you don't have it. And then it's too long to explain what is talent, nobody knows.
Um, Udo, I have one final question, and I'm trying to be very select in terms of which one I'm going
Even
to.
better.
But I want to know because I've been such a lifelong fan of your work. So this is a personal question for me. Yeah, you're such a brilliant actor, and especially recognized in this film, your performance. But I want to know why your career is filled with playing so many lowlifes and so many really odd characters. Can you tell us what draws you to these roles?
Well, yes, a few sentences to that. I to be uh, playing a bad guy, you have to be a good guy in your private life. So I like gardening. I talk to my trees. When I'm coming back now, I give water to all my palm trees, which I planted, and I tell my trees the story, what's happened, the way I talk to you. So I'm doing these things. I always think that the devil was actually an angel who didn't want to be an angel anymore. So he had in him to be an angel, but he hated that. So I think if people always say to me, "My God, you're so evil," I said, that is, I'm an actor. When I made a film, for example, Cell Block, a brawl in Cell Block 99, and I had a text by the director to Vince Vaughn, and I said, I cannot say that. I cannot say that what I'm going to do to the fetus of his pregnant wife. I said, I cannot do that. But then I thought, I do it as an excuse. And I said, if you don't kill that person, my boss wants to do this and this, I'm sorry. And the people in the cinema in Toronto at the festival, they all went like, "Ah! Ah!" And then at the end, when I get shot in the middle of my head, they all went like, yeah. So I think that to be a good person, we all trained to be good, but to play something evil which you were never allowed to play in your private life, I have fun. Sorry, that's why I like. It's like Christoph Waltz. We made Downsizing together, and I know but we are very similar. We kill and say, I'm sorry, but you can have two ways. You have a gun, and you take the gun and says, I'm fucking kill you and shoot. But you also can have a gun and you clean your fingernails and you say, when I'm done, I have to kill you. Bam! And people say, oh, that was evil. But it is, and after all, a movie, and a movie is shadow and light. That's why Mr. Smutny is such a great camera operator, director of photography, because that's what film is all about.
Udo, I want to personally express deepest gratitude for your sharing this afternoon with us. Thank you so much for being here and talking with us. We wish you all the best of luck, and we cannot wait to see you on the big screen again in a theater.
I hope there will be soon a big screen, and we should start with the painted bird. Bye-bye,
Bye.
Vaslav. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye. Bye. The audience had not one question to me. This is a scandal. This is a scandal. I have to come to your festival and be on stage and say, why didn't you ask me a question?
The invitation is open. We will love to have you.
Okay, I will come. Maybe, as I said with the film, My Neighbor Adolf. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Udo, my dear friend.
So the set must have been a lot of fun with Udo there.
Oh, yeah.
So besides Vaslav, besides Udo's incredible performance in the film, young actor Petr Kotlar is truly a revelation in how he conveys a wide range of emotions in a nearly silent performance. Was he found through an arduous casting process, or did you already have someone in mind before you started the project?
Look, it was, one thing was simply obvious because the main character on the book, he is the painted bird by himself. Why? because he has a brown skin, he has a black eyes, and he is simply different. Because all other people around him, mostly the local villagers, they do have a blonde hair, they do have a blue eyes, etc., etc. And the boy is simply different. So this was the, maybe this is the, for me, this is the most important level of the book, that all of us, and I think that everybody who is watching us at the moment and listening to us, so knows from its, from his or her own experience, that if you are different, you simply always have a problem. You are saying the different things, or you do have a different thoughts. You have a different clothes. You know, doesn't matter what, and always you have a problem. And we as a people, as a humankind, we do have a one really tragic, let's say, or we are feeling that if we do not understand something, or we do not understand anybody, so we are going to be frightened. We are simply scared. And when we scared, when we are frightened, we are going to be aggressive. And this is one of the most important messages which is sending to Jerzy Kosinski on his book, and hopefully in my movie. And Peter Kotlar as a main character, so it was quite simple that he must be different. So he must be a Sefer Jew, or Roma, or Gypsy boy. Because in the book there's the same. The people, they call him, you dirty Jew, or you dirty Roma, or you dirty Gypsy. So here in Czech Republic, you know, so mostly the Jews which are living here, and of course, you know, that was one of my faults, just only most of them are Ashkenazi, let's say, I mean the Eastern European Jews, you know, so no way, you know, so no children like that. So it was quite obvious that I have to find out the boy in the Roma community. But I didn't, because I met Peter by accident. I met him in a town, middle-aged town, here in Czech Republic, in south part of the Czech Republic, in Český Krumlov, which is a wonderful middle-aged town, wonderful, very mystical one. And I'm writing all my screenplays on that place. And I met him, in fact, let's say on the street. And he was a grandson of my friends, which are running the restaurant there. And he just only called me, Uncle Václav, that's me. And I didn't know who was it. And he said, I am Peter Kotlar. You know my grandma. And I said, oh my God. And believe it or not, in 5 minutes, I felt that that's him. So I didn't organize any other casting. He was just only ace on my pocket, or on my sleeve, let's say. I simply so deeply believe that that's him. You know, I know it was so risky because no experience in front of the camera, but I felt that he was so sensitive, that he could have so many emotions. And there was the Udo said, you know, he is observing all the time what's going on around. You know, he's taking so much and so many informations which are coming to him. Well, sometimes that's because he is not concentrated in 100%. Because he has so many inputs in his brain. So that's Peter.
And Vaslav, since your lead actor, Peter, was a young boy and the material contains some very harsh sequences, how aware was Peter of the situations his character faced? And how did you ensure his psychological safety throughout the production?
Look, Peter been tested before the principal photography. One of very good and one of the famous clinical psychologists here in Czech Republic, and they tested him and they said, look, Václav, you know, this boy is simply happy. He has a good parents and he has a good family, you know, so never he met some bad things in his life, you know, so he is 100% positive. And it was a most important background for him. That's the first what I have to say. Secondly, that's a good question. Because it was obvious that I can't say him everything, of course. Never I could say him, look, you know, this story is about this and those things are going to be there. So I will explain you, let's say, 3 let's say, three principles how I directed him. The first was that, technically first, that simply he wasn't there. He wasn't there. So, for instance, the scene when the local women from the village, they are murdering Ludmila on the meadow with the bottle, and our boy is observing this crazy scene. So in fact, it's about 6 shots or 7 shots. And the same day in the morning or before the lunch, I simply made 5 shots with Peter. Then I sent him away. Then we just only turned the camera and we shooted the murdering of the Ludmila. But the question was how to get the right expression on his eyes, on his face. And I did manipulate, let's say, manipulate him with help of his dog. Because Peter loves animals very much, but mostly he loves his dog. And because he is very sensitive, so for instance, I directed him and I said, look, Peter, try to imagine that you are walking out with your dog. You are in the garden somewhere and you are going to meet one of your friends. And you are talking about some video game, doesn't matter what. And you simply forget that the dog is with you. And then you stop your discussion with your friend, you turn, and your dog is not there. Where is your dog? Maybe some Batman stole it. Maybe your dog is now somewhere, in some dirty cellar. Maybe he's thirsty or he is starving and he tried to, and he looked at me, and I did have it. I know it's a manipulation, but it's so hard to direct such a small children like him. So that's what the one way how we did it. Sometimes, for instance, the scene when he is spending his first night in the Labina's hut. That's a 17 years old actress, which is acting Labina, and our boy is sleeping the first night. And in the background or in the second plan, the Labina, not the Labina, Labina is masturbating. And of course, Peter I couldn't say him, look, she is masturbating. Of course, they will arrest me. And I said, look, you are the first night in Labina's house. She is trying, or she has slept behind your back, and she is snoring. She is snoring so much that you don't know what to do. You don't know what's going on. So you don't absolutely just only wake up and just only to ask her. You are so frightened just only to turn your head and just only watch what she is doing. So that was another, let's say, method. But sometimes I had to say him the truth. For instance, when the bird catcher is committing the suicide. So it wasn't any other solution to tell him, look, Peter, the word of adult people are sometimes very complicated, very complicated. And simply, if somebody loves anybody else, or there's someone, anybody, and this guy or woman is going to lose his love or her love, so then those people are missing the sense, they don't know why to live, why to do that, because they are feeling to be so lonely. And then some people are deciding just only to leave us and to leave this world. And he did understand, because 9 years old children, they are not stupid. So I was very open. I really said to him, so what happened there? Because this scene was so complicated, because we had to shoot it, Black and Peter together. But always I did say, look, this is only a fiction. We are just only playing a game. It's not true. And again, I repeat it all the time. It's a game. We are just making a movie. So that's all. And he was, and my last, what I would like to say about him, that he has so many interests, I did mention. That, believe me, Igor, that if you will ask him 5 minutes after any shot, and you will ask him, Peter, what you have done 5 minutes ago, and he will not remember. Because in 5 minutes, so many other things did happen that simply he forgot it. So in fact he was lost, and he survived this shooting so easily, no trouble. We didn't he has had a coach, of course, which took care of him every second, and his grandmother was staying with us too, but just only they slept together. So I didn't want his grandmother must be on the place, because then he is going to be nervous. But in fact, 100% care of him.
I just want to reiterate that we have been receiving audience questions. I have been asking them. I've not been giving credit to the authors of the questions. But in this one respect, I do want to give credit because we have a director asking a question, Todd Lending, who won the grand jury prize at our recent festival with his film Salin Ruby to Life. Todd has joined us in this conversation and has asked Vaslav, did Peter see the unfinished film? And if so, what was his reaction?
Well, my consideration, or let's say, I was really sure that Peter never can see this movie, never can watch it. Of course, it's too young, etc. So when it was the world premiere in the Venice Film Festival, so simply I said as a director, so no way, no way. You will just only stay with us when the film will start, and then you will walk somewhere, with your coach, and then you will come back when the film will finish. But just only in 10 days after, when it was a Prague premiere here in Czech Republic, so his parents decided that people will be there, so he will watch the movie. And I said, I said to them, look, I don't think it's a good idea, but I respected that I am not his father, so it's not let's say my responsibility, and that is a decision which did come from his parents. But finally, I agreed, and I tell you why. Two reasons for that. The first was that he just only simply he's still on the screen. He deserves it. Just only really to watch it. But the second reason was quite important, and it's finally what it really did happen. I met so many actors, most of the young actors, they are playing the first roles in the movies, and they are not watching the movie. They are watching themselves. That's what the actors are doing. So never ask the actors after the screenings, what they are thinking about the film, because simply they didn't watch it. They did watch themselves. And that was same happened with Peter. I wasn't there, but he was sitting on the cinema, and he was still disturbing everybody around, and he was very loudly, he was saying, look at me. Oh, that's me. I did it this. Oh, you forgot. So in fact, he didn't see it. He didn't. So he did, but he didn't. So he survived again. No trouble.
Vaslav, correct me if I'm wrong. I understand that you chose to shoot the film chronologically. Why did you choose to do that if that's the case? And did the benefits outweigh the burden, as shooting chronologically a feature film is rarely done?
Yeah. That's a good question. I did have two reasons for that. The first was year seasons, of course, spring, summer, winter, autumn, I'd say, but it wasn't so important. Much more important was that I know that we will shoot more than 1.5 years. And during this time, Peter simply is going to be changed mentally, physically, and he did. So it was duty, just only, it didn't exist any other way than to shoot chronologically, because he was changing himself naturally. And during the principal photography, I had sometimes to rewrite the screenplays because Peter, let's say, mentally changed so much, that finally I said, look, so he does understand the scene much, much better, of course. So his reaction must be different. So it was only just to shoot chronologically, it was only one way how really to do that. Of course, if you as a director are going to any producer and you will say, look, I would like to shoot chronologically, so the producer will say, forget it. It's a lot of money. Much more money. No, no, no. We are on the same place. You will just only page 18, and then you will shoot the page 58 or 56. Doesn't matter. But I did have a great producer, a wonderful producer. Nobody. He said, Václav, don't do that. No, and the producer is me. So the producer Václav and the director Vaslav, so they know each other very well, and the screenwriter Václav. So our trio, and we do understand each other, and we are living together almost more than 60 years. So that was quite obvious that my producer will agree.
I also want to give credit. I know Udo did speak of him several times during the conversation, but I feel like this film owes so much to the great cinematographer Vladimir Smutny. Can you talk about working with him and the decision to tell the story with the stark black and white palette? I think also the film was shot on 35 millimeter.
Yeah, okay. So about Vladimir. Vladimir is, in my point of view, is simply not just only the best DOP in Czech Republic. He is one of the best in all the world. And his camera on the Painted Bird is really stunning, absolutely. And that's why he got the invitation 14 days ago to be a member of the American Film Academy.
Wow.
And I do understand, that's correct. But Vladimir is a good DOP not because he knows how to, let's say, to light the scene, or let's say how better to put the camera or something like that. Everybody, any good DOP can do that. Vladimir is one of the best because his camera is serving the story. Vladimir is never staying and saying, look at my camera, look at me, so never. So he is really reading the screenplay, his camera in any film, and he did made I suppose 52 long feature films, and in each of them his camera is different because the story is different. So Vladimir is serving to the story, so his camera is bringing the story to the audience. So that's why he is so good, and he's really thinking, really thinking. Well, black and white and 35 millimeter. Look, black and white, because one of my biggest ambitions I did have it this movie, or I did have one very important ambition, and I did mention this word, that the story must be truthful, must be truthful. And I just only did realize that if this film is going to be in color, it's not going to be truthful. Some people are saying to me sometimes, black and white, of course, you would like to be an artist. Oh my God. It's so artistic way, so many people are shooting in the black and white, because it's intellectual and it's artistic. And I said, look, I'm so sorry for that. I'm not so interested. I'm just only interested to serve my movie, and just only the color, it's going to be a damage. And as an example, maybe that's my consideration. Maybe you can agree or not. But maybe the same principle is to be sold by Steven Spielberg when he was shooting the Schindler's List. And just only try to imagine the Schindler's List in color. In my point of view, it will be a disaster. Not a disaster, but it will be much worse. So because the Schindler's List is a great movie, which is really truth. And that was the same ambition, So the black and white was just only one way how to do that. Negative, look, I'm 60 years old. I'm old-fashioned. I'm a filmmaker. I'm not a TV maker. And I know the future is going to be digital based and the digital camera and something. But in negative, you have something I cannot describe. I cannot. Nobody can do that. It's a miracle of something. You are feeling that's something special there. It's not like in the digital camera, which is everything is sharp on the digital camera. But in the negative, it's a real movie. It's a it's a real it's so much more, let's say, truthful again. So always I was shooting in on a 35mm negative, and if I will, so I will do that again, of course, because simply I don't like the digital pictures.
Um, Vaslav, can you tell us what were some of the other films or photographs that you looked at with Vladimir for visual reference uh, for your movie, The Painted Bird?
Well, maybe my sorry for that. Maybe my previous movie Tobruk, I did mention about the Czechoslovak soldiers which fought in North Africa in 1941, 41 against the Germans and Italian soldiers. But Vladimir was a DOP of the Oscar-winning movie Kolya,
Mm-hmm.
directed by Jan Svěrák. So I'm just only recommending to see this movie.
What about, I'm just curious, because this could be unintentional and totally coincidental, but I saw that The Painted Bird has the exact same number of chapters as Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev, which is broken down to 8 chapters with an epilogue. Was Tarkovsky an influence in any way in creating a narrative structure for Painted Bird or giving a visual aesthetic?
Well, it's I was thinking of it so many times, and how to do that, how to tell the story, because the biggest secret of any movie, not just on The Painted Bird, but any movie. So the hidden secret is in tempo and the rhythm. Because every good story, every good film has a good tempo and logically then a good rhythm. And just only when I did choose to use the 9 chapters and just only to call them by people which are, let's say, most important in that part of the boy's life in that moment. So that's why Stellan Skarsgård, for instance, when he's playing Hans, the German soldier, so his name is Hans. Even nobody will say it in the movie, Hans. Simply the chapter is Hans. And I just only felt it hard to explain, because that's what you are feeling as a screenwriter. Because when you are writing the screenplay, it's not just only tell the story. You are also thinking, because you as a screenwriter, you are bringing the tempo on the pages. And as Udo said, the good screenplay is a basement. So it's like if you are building, if you are constructing the building. So never you can start with the roof. You must start with the basement, and the basement is always the screenplay. But on the screenplay inside, the tempo and the rhythm must be in place. Must be, because the screenwriting is just only to find out response on so important question. Screenwriting is about the question why. Why? But direction, or to be a director, you must find out response for another question. How? But why is much more important. Much more important. Why you are telling this story. And simply, I felt, that this film must have a tempo and a rhythm. And if I will just only to split the story into 9 chapters, simply it will be very helpful that the film will get the tempo and then consequently the rhythm.
And was your decision to use the inter-Slavic language motivated by the need to have this international cast speak a common language, a common tongue? Or were there other practical or thematic reasons behind this choice?
Well, I had to think about what Jerzy Kosinski wrote in his book, in the prologue. And in book, the Jerzy Kosinski was writing, this story is somewhere in Eastern Europe, somewhere. So I had to think, what does it mean somewhere? And then he also wrote that the local people, they spoke in special Slavic language or the slang, or doesn't matter. So I had to think of it. What does it mean? So where the story is going on. But much more important for me was that I really didn't wish that any Slavic nation should be associated with this story. Not because I'm not talking about the alibi. No. I'm talking just only I would like to play fair. It must be fair play, because You know, this story, or what those people are doing in The Painted Bird, it's not just only about Russians or Slovaks or Ukrainians. It's about us. We are doing these things. You know, every time in the past, we are doing this in this very moment. We are talking each other. What what's happening in The Painted Bird? It's right now in Afghanistan, in Yemen, in Mali, in Africa. You know, in all countries which we are calling the war zones. But not just only the war zones, in all countries where the government is so corrupted, so the criminal gangs are running the state, in fact, you know, and the people are still frightened and they are so feared and they are trying to escape, you know. So there are so many children at this very second are going to be abused, tortured, or murdered. And I know that, you know, because I'm many years I'm working for the UNICEF, for the World Organization, which is protecting child. And I saw it in my own eyes. So for instance, last year I was in Rwanda, which was a so crazy genocide. What happened there? So 800,000 people been murdered, including children. And we as a UNICEF, we do have programs in the refugees camps in the south of Rwanda. The people which they did escape from Tanzania, doesn't matter from where. And it's crazy. You know, so many children you are meeting, you know, and so many children did die before we brought our program there. It's about the vaccination. It's about nutrition. So you know, you said, Igor, that The Painted Bird is a Holocaust movie. I know that we are talking now in the Jewish Film Festival, but I must say very openly that this is, let's say, higher level, that it's not about the Holocaust. It's not about war.
It's
It's
universal.
about, it's a universe story. It's a timeless story. It's about humankind. It's
Mhm.
about our destiny. Or so many painful questions is bringing to us this story. And I didn't show the, let's say, I didn't bring responses to the audience. You know, it's just only up to everybody. You know, so I'm just only putting the questions. That's all. I'm not saying this is correct and this what you have to feel, you know, and this is the way how to understand the story. Everybody has its own way, and he is open. He's trying to find out his own responses. And this is as fascinating on this story anyway, on the book. Questions, questions, questions. Why? What about the humankind is, you know, what is our destiny? What does it mean good? What does it mean evil? What, how important all those things are. And maybe the heretical idea is, do we need evil to really understand the good?
So we have time for one final question, Vaslav.
Yeah, yeah, sorry
I
for that.
just
Sorry, I
I
am
just want, no,
talking so much, you know, but sorry.
that- you've made this a profound conversation, and I want to thank you for that. And my last question to you, throughout the story, we don't know the boy's name, and in a sense, that impacts his humanity, I think. What's the significance of discovering his name only in the film's final scene?
Look, this final scene is definitely different than the final scene in the book, because I didn't like how the book was ending, you know, how the story was ending. Because on the book, the children, of course, a boy survived, and finally his parents sent him somewhere to some hospital in Switzerland, and then some avalanche is that, you know, it was so crazy. And I really was thinking, you know, how to finish my story, or how I do understand The Painted Bird. And I was thinking so much because I didn't want to make any scene sentimentally. I hate it. I hate sentiment. I really hate it. If somebody is really pushing and pressing the audience, you know, you must feel this, you know, now you have to cry, and the sentimental music is coming, you know. So this scene was so important. And finally I got this idea that the father is going to sleep, and because one of last sentence on the father's line on the movie is, "Do you even remember what is your name?" And the boy escaped, you know, and finally he's coming back and he's traveling with his father. So the father is going to sleep, and he is first time we know what is his name, and he is writing his first name on the to the window of the bus, you know. And father is sleeping, and of course we have noticed it, the number what he does have on the left arm, but just only technically these numbers being just only from the Auschwitz, only Auschwitz, no other concentration camps tattooed the prisoners, just in Auschwitz, just in Auschwitz. So if we know that, so we know that his father also had to survive so terrible things, you know. So those people, though both people, father and his son, they are sitting together. They don't know anything about the other, you know, and we know that they are trying to find out together the hope. And this is only one scene. I had to use the music, the Horshad Haicalyptus from Israeli singer and composer Naomi Shemer. And this is such a wonderful wonderful song. It's about the childhood, and it's such a wonder. And I always think to the audience, if I'm just only do have an opening my screen, I said, look, don't leave, because this, if you would like to stay, I will appreciate it, because this final song is the part of the movie. This song is bringing you what I did try to find or to show or to bring to you, the hope. Because I would like to be an optimist. I would like, I do still believe that the hope does exist. I have to, I must feel it. I must be there.
Well, I want to first and foremost just let you know, Vaslav, what a absolute profound pleasure this has been speaking with you for this hour. Thank you so much for finding the time. We also want to thank Udo for joining us for this conversation. I want to thank everyone who participated in the conversation and sent us your questions. If you haven't seen the film, The Painted Bird, I strongly encourage you to experience it. It is an extraordinary film, and it is now available on VOD. It's streaming, and you could find the link on our website and in our social media channels. Before we go, we also want to thank IFC Films and Tamar Simon at Mean Streets Management for your support in making this event possible. Thank you, everyone, so very much. We hope you take care. Thank you again.
Thank you too. Thank you. Thank you.